No buzz. Just Bees Book Club. Woods All Black by Lee Mandelo is only Bees Book Club pick today. Only bees are allowed. Always been, always will be. It's been a minute since I read this book. There was maybe talk about potentially doing collaboration. Bees. That was months ago. So, last book for my mellow. I like Lee Mandelo's writing a lot. I my memory of Summer Suns is that it took me about 100 pages to like really get into it, but then like once I was into it, it started ripping. I have a coworker who's been a bee here before, who really recently read it for the first time, and she was really into it. And another coworker who's not been a bee here before, who also read it and was down from basically page one as well, which was surprising to me. I have talked about Feed Them Silence on here, and been a fan. I had issues with The Woods All Black also, uh, but Ted Coker also loved it. So, aforementioned Coker, who's also been. I think Woods All Black is a lot better than Feed Them Silence. I think it suffers from being a novella. I think, at least in my experience thus far, and I actually am planning on rereading Summer Suns at some point because it has been like 3 years, and I would like to read a thing by Lee Mandela that I really like again. But we'll see. I mean, literally, we'll see. Because if I read it, I do a thing about it. If I don't, I don't. My honestly big takeaway from The Woods All Black was, and there's no such thing as an obscure reference because this is just bees here. But this is like a 2.5 session game of Dogs in the Vineyard, like for real, for real. Uh, it like I would be like completely unsurprised if Mandela had not like literally plotted out the town of Spar Creek in uh, Dogs in the Vineyard. Uh, a tabletop role playing game. Did we talk about that on the matter of systems? I feel like we did. I definitely talked about it a lot or around it. I don't remember if we did that specific. I think we did. I think that was like the second to last episode, um, pre hiatus. Um, so my thoughts on Dogs in the Vineyard. Go find my podcast, PW's podcast, obviously. Um, BW is the one who chose the game, so like very specific. That was a BW choice. That's to BW. I love you. I haven't talked to you in a minute. I just realized something. Anyway, Woods All Black is a story about a trans nurse in 1929 Kentucky who gets sent to who is like in World War I, gets sent to a small town called Spar Creek with a nursing organization where he is hoping to provide help with birthing, potential contraceptives, even though that's like outside of the scope of the actual organization, and to sort of cover that in a more palatable thing, to provide vaccinations to the children. Things immediately start going sideways. He finds a young trans guy who has been raped and made with child. Some some shit occurs, and um, then it feels like I said, about halfway through session three, right before session three starts, it seems like one of the players is like, oh shit, I have to move out of town. Can we wrap this thing up right now instead of going the next like 4 sessions that we were planning for this town? And I know Dogs in the Vineyard doesn't. I mean, listen, I've read Dogs in the Vineyard. I'm familiar with it. I've run a session of it. It was a disaster, as it should be. Um, but it does feel like their campaign gets cut short, and so a bunch of shit happens that some of which is great. Like there's a fantastic sex scene 2/3 of the way through the book. Between who and who knows? I do. So you do. You're be also. Then there's another sex scene that's a little, I don't know, developments. Um, and I feel like at a certain point, the genre starts feeling loose in a way that feels like it's getting ready to transition into something other than what it like currently is, and then instead it ends and there's an epilogue. So this is a book about yay size, generously spaced but not like widely. It's like 145 pages, which is to say it's about as long as it took me to get into Summer Suns, and this is my big thing. I think Mandelo really needs space as a writer to really make part of the thing that they're writing about pop and like become like a fully realized space with characters who like maybe aren't kind of partial cardboard. And the last two things have been novellas, which I know is sort of like com's like main non-major author output at this point. Um, I don't know where they sell. Probably ebooks. I bet the ebooks sell pretty decent, and I bet they have a decent subscription around that. I don't know why these are coming out in part that is really cool shorts or novella, basically. It's coming out from Toracom, Nightfire, or whatever. Not Nightfire. It's African science fiction, but that like just doesn't like I read it and I was like, this is fun. It's a little slight, but for like 11.95, I could see it. And then I looked it up, and they're exclusively publishing it in hardcover first. I'm sure there are ins and outs of the publishing industry I'm not familiar with. There are particularities that I'm not familiar with. But as a bookstore worker, it being like we could take a gamble on this, like I was able to with Finna years and years ago, by Cipri, phenomenal book. Um, Still sell it, not as much as I'd like to, but like has been on shelves for 4 years at this point, basically. I think we could take a gamble on because paperback, low price point, easy to hand sell. If somebody comes in the store and goes, "Hey, like I'm like a science fiction person. Like I want some queer science fiction, but I would love it to be like a little more light heart. Like I kind of want like a funny book. I can just be like, Finna, you haven't read it. It's been around for a little while. You don't know it. It goes places. It has real emotional depth to it. Cypri's a fucking great person from the one interaction I've had with them. But like, the price point matters. Whereas like Woods All Black and another thing I'll be talking about forthcoming, like these novellas that are like hardcover. What is this? Yeah, it's a $20 hardcover for a book you'll read in a couple hours, and also to talk to the video. I went into seller talk. That was not expected from. I turned this camera on. All I really meant to say was that I think Dogs in the Vineyard is cool, and I think this is a pretty good story. That's a lot better than Feed Them Silence, honestly, and it's treated a lot better because that was my major complaint with Feed Them Silence because I think Mandelo's previous was a really good premise that sort of fell down a little bit and was uh, the printing was awful. So like literally just like the way line breaks were done looked bad. Like the way not sorry, not line breaks isn't like poetic line breaks, but like line breaks like when you write a bunch of stars in a row in Microsoft Word and then it auto completes with like a section break, I guess is actually the term now that I'm thinking back to my technical writing days. Even Silence I felt like was done just every possible way on that level. Woods All Black doesn't have those problems. Um, I think the main problem I have with it is like I want a Mandelo novel again, and I think they're just better at it. um, Fortunately, market, etc. Any other thoughts? I mean, like generally speaking, like yeah, I mean, the thing that Mandela does well, outside of like where I think better is like I don't know the gender stuff in 29 Kentucky. I think feels accurate and I mean, who knows? I don't know if accurate, but like feels realistically uncomfortable in interact with Leslie, Stevie, the two boys who are focal points, and their individual handling of it. Also, I feel like does a pretty good job of um, fixing them as characters who are operating at a time that makes sense and that is frankly relatable. I think there's good moments of violence and sex, which I think are two things that celebrates really well. Which is like that's not like light praise. I think those are both difficult things to do well in certain circumstances, and yeah, I think it's a pretty good novella. I but yeah, my feelings. Thanks for not watching.